From the famous dogfight scene in John Wick 3 to the subway scene from Street Kings, here are some of the best Keanu Reeves fight scenes ever, starting with the legendary dogfight in John Wick Chapter 3. If the John Wick movies show me anything, it's that almost anything can be used as a weapon, since guns, knives, and pencils have already been talked about. Parabellum turned to animals. At one point, John Wick used a horse's back legs as the ultimate equalizer. Things get more interesting when Sofia and her two very well-trained dogs show up in Casablanca for a long shootout. Halle Berry and Reeves are both great in this scene, but the dogs, with a couple of well-placed bites, naturally steal the show. Even though Reeves didn't start learning martial arts until The Matrix, he had plenty of memorable fight scenes before, too, that he showcased in other movies. Johnny Utah versus Buddy in Point Break 1991.
Back off, war child, seriously. Thank you.
Stay out of this, Bodhi.
This is stimulating, but we're out of here.
Let's go, Utah. Just keep walking.
Along with a fun but short fight with a group of surfers. Johnny Utah's final fight with Buddy is one of the most interesting parts of Point Break. Even though it's not the best choreographed fight ever, Johnny and Buddy finally fight as the 50-year storm rages around them. It's an ugly, desperate, and inevitable fight, one for survival between two unlikely friends from different backgrounds, both of whom have different ideas about what freedom means, which makes this fight scene one of the best in my opinion. But let's not forget this next one either. Tanaka Mark versus Tiger Chen Linhu in Man of Tai Chi in 2013. This was Reeves' first movie as a director. It was a throwback to old-school martial arts movies and gave Reeves a chance to play a bad guy.
Do you know what you are?
The best part of the movie is definitely the final fight between Reeves' character Tanaka and Tiger, who's a former Hong Kong police officer whose morals were ruined by the bad guy's underground fighting ring. Even though some of the dialogue's cheesy, the intense fight scene's a great way to show off Reeves and Tiger Chen's skills as martial artists. This scene's real, raw, and painful because the editing was kept to a minimum so that every blow could be felt fully. Although this next movie's the one that actually made Reeves famous as an action star. Howard Payne versus Jack Traven in Speed 1994. With a simple premise that keeps the movie moving quickly, everything comes to a head in a crazy final showdown between LAPD officer Jack Traven and bomber Howard Payne. It makes sense that it takes place on top of a subway train.
I've got plenty to go around!
Even though the scene's mostly just a couple of punches to the face and a head being cut off by a light signal, this fight's thrilling because it involves two forces that seem unstoppable and are moving at a very fast pace. Because of this, Speed goes down as one of his best movies in history. However, as you already know, the John Wick ones come pretty close too. Cause remember when John Wick fought Ares in a Hall of Mirrors in Chapter 2? It sets up the threat of random people in a way that surprised me. After the second of two great fights with Cassian, Wick goes to an art museum and shoots his way through a small army to kill Santino. This leads up to a very interesting and confusing fight scene in a mirror exhibit. That's made even better by Chad Stahelski's wild style as a director. Like so many other fights in the series, the last one between Wick and Ares is brutal, short, and sobering. But you know what's the complete opposite of that? Neo and Agent Smith's fight scene on the subway in The Matrix 1999. During the Matrix trilogy, Neo and Agent Smith are always fighting. fighting. Even though each fight's more exciting than the last, their first fight in the subway station's the best. Neo and Smith's fight in the subway isn't as big as their final showdown in the Matrix Revolutions, but it's better for it. These two powerful people come to blows and break some walls in the process. From the Western showdown to the close call on the train tracks, this scene's full of action and does a great job of developing the characters, just like this next fight scene that stole the show when it first premiered, when John Wick came out of retirement in John Wick 2014. Even though these movies are all about great fights, John Wick beating up Vigo's 12-man hit squad in his own home is the first fight that can claim to be the first. Along with a stolen car and a dead dog, this movie spends a lot of time establishing the hitman's reputation as the mythical Baba Yaga. When the time comes for this universe's boogeyman to actually show up, it's a relief. It doesn't hurt that this fight's also a beautifully choreographed gunfight. Speaking of, here's another one that really took the cake: Neo and Trinity's shootout in the lobby in The Matrix 1999. This was the scene that was everywhere on the internet. Leather coats, sunglasses, helpless security guards, and all the bullets in the world. Need I say more? The lobby shootout in The Matrix is the best way to show how to do an action scene right. In many ways, some fans think this fight's the very definition of too much, but it all comes together to make an exciting scene that has stood the test of time. With the help of slow motion and a great electronic soundtrack, this scene shows Neo and Trinity running through a platoon of soldiers without breaking a sweat. In the story, this is Neo's declaration of his intentions, but for us, it's a classic gunfight. In fact, here's another great scene from the same movie: Morpheus versus Neo. When Neo is taken out of the Matrix, he finds out that reality's just a simulation, but he still has trouble coming to terms with the truth. Since actions speak louder than words, Morpheus takes Neo for an impromptu training session in a virtual dojo. If you take this fight out of its original setting, it's a beautifully choreographed fight. It combines realistic martial arts, flexible physics, and great stunt work to make something new, and also emphasizes the movie's main themes of conscious free will. The best part is that Neo learns to set his mind free to get the most out of his body, which is pretty rad, just like this next scene, the fight in the Red Circle from John Wick 2014. Building on what happened at the home invasion, John Wick goes to a nightclub to kill Vigo's son, Yosef, and he leaves a lot of dead bodies on the dance floor. The droning music and hypnotic lighting effects in the club, along with the confident direction, create a hypnotic atmosphere, and I loved every bit of it. Wick kills Vigo's goons with pinpoint accuracy and no mercy. Reeves' physical performance gives the action a sense of immediacy that would come to define the John Wick franchise. This makes a fight scene that seems to go beyond fiction and become more real. However, the realest one he's ever done is hands down the laser whip scene in Johnny Mnemonic 1995. What goes down in this scene is pretty impressive, even if it's unrealistic by the laws of physics. Johnny, played by Reeves, is a courier who's got a data storage device in his head. He jokes that next time, knock Baldy. In the first scene, Yakuza fighters break up a meeting that Johnny is at, forcing him to fight his way out. That means facing someone with a laser whip that can cut through anything. Jeez, it's no wonder this scene's ranked up so high. Well, with that, that's all the best Keanu Reeves fight scenes.